After 2.5 years living in Chenzhou, it was time for me to head back to the United States to get a work visa for the new fancy kindergarten that had hired me. I headed to Atlanta, where I attended university, to get the documents required for the visa. I also had plenty of friends in Atlanta. I considered it my home for a long time. I'm from the area. I grew up just north of Atlanta in Cartersville, Georgia. So I spent much of the time waiting for the paperwork, hanging out with friends, and soon took off to Talladega, Alabama to visit family. I expected the paperwork to take anywhere from 2 weeks to a month. I did as much traveling around the South and visiting with friends and family as I possibly could. I had arrived back in the U.S. in April. Still, by the end of May, problems began to show up. My Chinese employer was unwilling to continue to fund my trip as agreed. He wanted me to sign a new contract, which included the same pay but more working hours. I countered with higher income, better benefits, and the same working hours. He disagreed. Soon I was looking for a new school from the other side of the globe. Fortunately, the recruiter I had initially worked with to get my first job in China quickly found a place. Unfortunately, it wasn't in Chenzhou. I had grown to love Chenzhou and was expecting to return there. Still, beggars can't be choosers, and from the other side of the globe, anything in China was better than going back to the minimum wage job hunt in the U.S. Furthermore, the new job actually paid quite well, about 60% more than the job at the kindergarten in Chenzhou. So it didn't take long to convince me. I signed a new contract and began waiting on paperwork to arrive from China. I started the wait in June.
He started moving, he came real close to us, but now he's not moving, so I don't know if you can see him. Oh, there he is. Wow.
It had already been 2 months since I left China. The money was running thin, even though my father was helping out.
Yeah, he's getting real close now. If he gets any closer, I think I'll probably go inside.
I got to travel the South when opportunities arose to ride with friends to visit their families or mine when my father took a trip. I recruited exactly one new teacher to come to China, who also ended up in Chenzhou, and I whiled away the time.
This is what I'm doing all day. This is now my day. I watched little rats run around the yard because there's nothing else to do.
For reasons I will never understand, the paperwork continued to drag. The paperwork on the China side was submitted and rejected more than once. Finally, when it was approved, they sent it to me, and I sent it on to the consulate in Houston. I had to get copies of official documents signed, sealed, legalized, authorized, and standardized on my end. I honestly wish I could remember all the steps to take you through them and show you what an insane process it is. Still, needless to say, it took a long time for copies submitted, waited for, and then returned, then resubmitted to a different agency and different offices to get processed again and returned again. In the end, everything had to be sent off to the consulate and the visa issued, which itself took more than a month. But it was all worth it. By September, yes, September, 5 months after I had arrived in the U.S., I got the final copy of the work visa in the mail, just 1 day before my scheduled flight. I literally left as soon as I pulled the envelope out of the mailbox. I should say I called my dad to come over and pick me up as soon as I got the visa out of the mailbox. I was panicked and my flight was leaving the following day. My dad came over and then took me to the train station. From there, I made my way to Atlanta, stayed with a friend that night, then hopped on a flight back to China. It had been 5 months with no paycheck. Now I was headed back to the life I built over the past 2.5 years, and I couldn't be happier. Wait, scratch that. I could have been happier if the job had been in Chenzhou, but it wasn't. And I was headed off to explore a new city, and hopefully new parts of China.